Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name is Soleil and I garden in a Zone 5B in mid-Michigan, and today we're going to do a planting video. I've got several different plants that I want to get in the ground. We have a wonderful Weigela. You can see just the tops of it right now, and so this is a Sonic Bloom Weigela, and then we're going to plant some Hypericum also on the west side of the house. And after that we're going to travel on over to the fountain area and we're going to plant out that annual Bacopa because I think it's going to look really pretty in front of the fountain. All right, we are going to inaugurate this garden bed. This is a brand new garden bed that I created this year, and I've been waiting for everything to die back and really be ready for planting, and I think it's time. So we're going to put our first plant into it. I'm so excited. So what we have here is the Sonic Bloom Weigela, and it wasn't even blooming when I bought it, but it is definitely blooming now. And what I did for this garden bed is to create a garden bed that actually is brand new. And to do that, what I needed to do was actually add some paper bags, and I put those over the top of the grass. After that, I added about 4 or 5 inches of mulch here. So there's quite a bit of mulch here. But as you can see, everything is all died back here in the ground, and the ground is nice and moist. So we are ready to do some planting. So we're gonna dig this one in. Okay, so you can see here that I have a shrub that has some really nice roots on it. It's starting to get just a little bit root bound, so I'm just going to kind of take the roots and kind of tease them a little bit, but it's not bad at all. This is a Weigela, and they're quite tough and wonderful shrubs, so that should do it. That's all I really need to do, just kind of roughen it up a bit. One of the things I always like to do is just use my current plant can to put any soil that I dig up into it. And it'll be interesting to see what the soil is like here. I can tell it has some moisture in it, but there's definitely a maple tree that was taken down recently that's nearby, as well as another one that is still giant. And so I wonder if I'm going to run into any of those roots. So I'm just going to keep making this circle wide enough so that as I plant it, that it's going to be a little wider than the actual root ball. Ideally, you do this probably twice as wide as the shrub's root ball. That way the roots will really easily establish. Woo! I ran into a root right there. You can see I have some good root matter down here, and I'm just going to plop it into this can. This is definitely not the best soil. It looks like it's a bit clay. There's not much organic matter in it at all, but that's okay because it's going to improve over time. Probably 3 months ago, it would have been really difficult for me to dig in this soil even, so I'm really happy with how it is right now. It's still moist from the rain, and it's easily diggable. So that is a good sign that this no-dig method is working to create a garden bed that is going to be good for my plants. Okay, so I'm just going to plop this into the hole here, and I'm going to plant it a little bit high. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want it to be just higher than the soil level, but also so that there's a couple inches of mulch over the top of it. And that's really important to help keep this moist. Now, as I backfill, I'm going to be letting just a skosh of the mulch fall into the hole with it. This is going to add a little bit of organic matter into the soil. Now, when I say that, I'm not putting a whole bunch of mulch into the soil, okay? That's not what's happening right here. I'm just putting little bits and pieces of it back in with the soil because that will help to amend the soil just enough to create a little bit more aeration into the soil, a little bit more opportunity for, the organic matter to be there for holding on to the rain and ensuring that this plant can stay healthy over time. And you can see this is really kind of heavy, thick soil. and it has some roots in it. So that's why we're going to let some of that organic matter kind of stay in the hole here. Some of the soil has so many roots in it that I'm actually not going to put it back in the soil. Instead, we're just going to continue to fill around it with this wonderful mulch. And I will be watering this in. Now, this is just a shredded hardwood mulch that I get from a local landscape supply company. We get it delivered in bulk every year in the spring. And this year we made sure to have some extra delivered because I knew I was going to be making this new garden bed and that I would need more mulch to be able to ensure that I could create it, because it really needs to be extra thick the first time you create a garden bed. Awesome. I just love how this turned out. This is beautiful. Come take a look at the blooms. They're so pretty. So again, this is the Sonic Bloom pink version, and you can see it's a really dark pink on the bloom until it opens, and then it turns a lighter pink. And this is definitely a very robust plant. I'm really excited to have this in my garden, and I can't wait to see it bloom next year as well. All right, let's head over to the west side of the house, and we're going to plant a couple Hypericum over there. All right, so these are our Hypericum, and this is the area we are going to be planting in. And you can see we have an air conditioning unit here, so hopefully this will help to, provide a little shade for that. This viburnum over here is going to be growing about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, so that should be providing some shade and also kind of some camouflage for this air conditioning unit. But this is kind of the only area in my garden bed where I plant hot colored perennials. And you can see I have some hot colored daylilies in here that are red and orange. And I also have some helenium that are over here. They are not open yet, but they will be blooming soon. And those are also a kind of orangey yellow color. And so these Hypericum bloom a yellow color, and they will fit right in here. They have beautiful little yellow flowers, and I'm just going to place them right in front here. They get about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, so they'll be about the same height as those daylilies right there, but they should fill in this area really nicely. And I actually had to remove some lungwort in order to free up this bed space for it. So those have gone in the way back garden. All right, let's get started and dig these in. So I'm making sure to space these appropriately. This soil over here is definitely a bit clay. It's kind of that foundation kind of soil that you have, but it's been around for a few years. I have been mulching it for a while, so it's not too bad. I'm definitely going to plant these fairly close to each other because I do want them to be nice and full and to shade the soil in this area. This soil, you can tell just by the color of it that it's a whole different texture than the brand new garden bed that we were working in just before this. And that's what a few years of mulch can do for your soil. It really can make a big difference. Let's see if we've dug this deep enough. This looks pretty good. I'm going to take just a little bit more out from the corners. Now this is a plant that is also commonly known as St. John's wort, and it is a native cultivar, so that's really nice. That means oftentimes that it can take some more extreme conditions than some of the non-native plants that you may get in your area. And I love that. This part of my garden is a really hard part of the garden to plant in because in general, it gets the sun late in the day. So I'm just backfilling now, and I want to make sure that I get plenty of soil around these roots. I don't have a lot of mulch in this area, so that is a bit of a downfall to this planting today. We'll use what we do have. I wish that I had more. It tends to really dry out in this area and get used up fairly quickly because this is the west side of the house, so it does get that really late afternoon sun, which means that everything just kind of bakes at the end of the day. So we have a little bit of a light layer of mulch, and we're definitely using it. All right, let's get the other one in, and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, well, I think this turned out really great, you guys. I'm really loving the texture of these two foliages and the different colors of green together. Isn't that nice with the fine textured foliage and then the strappy foliage of the daylilies back there? That is really cool looking. I am excited about this, and I'm looking forward to these growing on. Let's get these watered in, and then we'll head on over to the fountain area and we will plant some Bacopa. Now, the manner in which I planted these, I think I'll still have a few inches, maybe 4 inches or so in the front of this garden bed to be able to plant some other kind of ground cover type perennials, or even some annuals that will help to even continue to fill out this bed. I don't know whether I'll find something this year or if it will be next year, but I'll definitely be keeping my eye out for something that goes really well with these. I'm really excited about this combination, you guys. I wasn't too sure about this plant when I bought it, but I knew it had a lot of potential just based on after I read all of the stats on it. It's pretty cool. All right, well, let's go over and plant some Bacopa by the fountains. All right, well, here we are in the beautiful fountain area, and I planted some heucheras in here last fall, thinking that they would be a nice, colorful, perennial addition to this bed, but I'm not really happy with them, and I just think they're kind of throwing off the vibe that I want to see here. I want to see some things that kind of flow over the rock edge and soften it. So when I picked up these Bacopa the other day for $1 each, I thought these are a great opportunity just to replace them with some annuals. I may look for some other perennials eventually, but it also could be a great area for me just to continue to plant annuals in. So I'm going to dig these heucheras up. These are heucheras that I just divided off some other plants in the garden. And it's a wonderful way to spread perennials about, and it also makes it easy to replace them because you don't feel so bad because you haven't spent a bunch of money on them and you haven't bought things that have been sitting in the greenhouse or that have traveled in plastic pots a long ways. So there's not a lot of, environmental consequences to it either. So I just love it. So we're going to take these out and we're going to replace them with the Bacopa. We'll start with this little one right here. The nice thing about heucheras is they really don't have a whole lot of roots, so they're super easy to remove. Now, the other thing that we have in this garden bed that I'm going to take out right here is this little snapdragon. It really hasn't performed that great since it's gotten warm, so I'm going to take that one out as well. In its place, we're going to put a cute little Bacopa that I hope will just kind of start to trail over these rocks. And even though this says that it only flowers in spring, it's been my experience that it will flower through summer, and as it is already starting to bloom again. And with these annuals, I probably will need to give them some doses of a little bit of fertilizer. This will only be good until the frost, but I think it's going to be really pretty. I like to keep things low so you can see the beauty of the architecture and design of the fountain base behind it. And so this is just going to fill in nicely and have some pretty little flowers on the rocks. Now we're also going to take this one out. Same thing with this one. It's kind of a little bit big for the area. It's a nice plant again, but just not doing what I was hoping for. I'm going to have to be quick with this planting because I see some ants in the area, so we're going to get it in really fast. So I think that looks better already. Something about those heucheras just made it feel like a little bit dry, a little bit crispy, something like that. I kind of like keeping the one that is in the back over here on the right hand side, but I definitely think that this is going to be a nice transition to some pretty little white flowers. So we can see how these are just starting to bloom now. There was no blooms on them when I bought them for $1 each, but we're definitely getting lots of little buds on them at this point. And I'm gonna get these watered in real good, and like I said, I'll probably hit them with a little dose of some liquid fertilizer, and that will help kickstart them as well. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit about a few new plants that you could plant in your garden that are wonderful for full sun. All 3 of these are fantastic varieties to plant in full sun. We have the Weigela, which is a fantastic woody shrub perennial, and the Hypericum is also a woody shrub perennial, even though it looks a little bit more herbaceous, but they both will stay as shrub forms. And then we have this wonderful annual of the Bacopa that will also shine in the sunshine. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time.